Okay, the time is 6:30, so I will kick off. Okay, welcome everybody to the Street Life Committee meeting of Community Board 8. My name is Abraham Salcido and I chair this committee. Few rules of the road for today. I will go down the agenda and invite the applicant or the representative for the applicant for each application to come off mute, state their name, and tell us a little bit about their application. I will then inquire whether there's any member of the public that has questions or comments on that application. After that, I will go to my fellow committee members for any questions, comments, or motions. Um, just a reminder, any action taken here will be recommendations to the full board meeting, which will be at the full board meeting. Bear with me. I'm looking at my
It's
calendar.
on the 24th of January.
Thank you, Will, on the 24th of January. Okay. After that, a few other um, notes. Please address all questions, comments to me as the chair. I'd like to avoid any crosstalk. Please remember to adhere to the rules of decorum. While everyone has their own opinion and we are all entitled to it, let's be respectful and give everyone the opportunity to speak. If anyone cannot adhere to the rules of decorum, then they will not be allowed to participate any longer. Um, Okay, so I think that's it from my side. Will, I will go over to you for the technical aspects.
Yeah, well, first, everybody, I apologize for being off camera. I have a cold, and so you hear my raspy voice. But I'll be brief in our introductions and instructions. So, welcome if you haven't joined us in a long time, or this is maybe your first time. You'll notice you're muted right now, and you're unable to unmute yourself on your own. Everyone's going to remain muted during the duration of the meeting, except for Abraham and any presenters as they are presenting their applications. Following each application's presentation, we will go to the public. If you wish to speak, you can participate by going to the reactions on your device and pressing the raise hand button. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, it'll go back down, and it's the raise hand button. It's not the wave or the thumbs up. If you're calling in from the phone, it's star and 9 to raise your hand, and then star and 6 to unmute whenever you're called on. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once Abraham calls on you. If you're having problems, you can chat me or Robert whenever he's in the meeting. If you have any questions, the chat is only for technical support. It is not to make comments or ask questions of the presenters or the applicants. They will never see those chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you'll need to go to the participants section, or you'll find the raise hand feature there. And then finally, we encourage you not to raise your actual hand or wave at the screen. There's a lot of folks here. We may not be able to see you. So if you're having problems, you can chat me or Robert, and we will be happy to support. And with that, I hand it back over to Abraham.
Thank you, Will. Okay, so with that, we'll get started. So the first section are for State Liquor Authority liquor license applications. The second category applications are for the Office of Cannabis Management, which are for adult retail dispensary licenses. So we'll start with item 1A. Do we have the representative from the Frick Collection? This was the application from last month that was laid over, and I understand that the applicant and the residents have come to a agreement based off their discussions. So with that, I will invite the applicant for a representative for the Frick to come off mute and um, give us an update, and then I will also then go to a representative of the neighbors.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jonathan Bing, Greenberg Traurig, for the Frick Collection, joined by many representatives. Just a few minutes ago, I believe, reached agreement with regard to the stipulations. This was, it was on your recommendation, on the recommendation of this committee. From the last meeting, got to work with the neighbors on East 70th Street to come up with a mutually acceptable stipulation for this committee to consider. It was many, many hours of meetings, in person, online, emails during holidays, weekends, Christmas week, the week after New Year's. We really, both sides worked extremely hard to come up with something that was mutually agreeable, including many meetings involving 6 lawyers total and 2 other professionals. So you can imagine how easy that was at times. But really, it was very, very sincere on both. I should say that the advocates for East 70th Street are very dedicated to their neighborhood, to wanting to preserve its quality of life and to advance and to protect that during what we are in a difficult time right now. So as well as the representative who I know very well and did a wonderful job advocating for his client. So we set the stipulations again just a few minutes ago for your consideration. Probably better for you to take a look at them than me to go through them directly. But I should point out with regard to the issue of number of bars. And again, number of bars does not mean that they're all operating at the same time. It means where the bars will be located. But we have reduced that number from 17 to 14 pending approval of the neighbors and this committee. We also made significant changes to so many things, 4 pages, I believe now at the end of stipulations. I would think it's the most significant stipulation signed by any cultural institution in Manhattan. Most of the ones that we know exist are basically just here are your hours. So it's extremely extensive, taking into account the unique nature of where the Frick is and the unique residential nature. And again, we understand and want the Frick to be a good neighbor and continue to be as it looks towards its reopening. So I'm happy to go into more details. It's probably better to just look at the stipulation itself.
Yeah.
Again, it was a lot of effort. We appreciate your good counsel and the good counsel of this committee when rather than sort of come to come to a head in the last meeting where one side would be unhappy, or perhaps both sides would be unhappy to come to an agreement. And I'm hoping that the neighbors feel the same way, and that this committee will adopt the mutually agreed upon document as its resolution tonight, and that the full board will approve it. And we have several Frick representatives online to answer any questions that I might not be able to answer.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ring. I really appreciate that, and also apologies. Since this is the first Street Life meeting of the year, I did not say Happy New Year to everyone. So Happy New Year to everyone. And I do congratulate you. Obviously, I'm just looking forward to hearing from former council member Kalos and Leslie Samuels from the neighborhood. But I'm very happy to see that a lot of time and effort was put into this, which I expected no less. And I'm glad that there was able to be an amicable solution here. First thing though, Will, do you think we could pull up the stipulations so that the
Yeah, let me see if I can make that happen. Give me 12 and a half seconds.
no problem. While you do that,
And again, obviously we want to get to them to you as soon as possible, but it was really discussions up until 10 or 15 minutes ago. So again, apologize to the board for not having this completed a little sooner, but we really wanted to come to an agreement that you would be happy to, and hopefully happy to accept.
You guys can see those, right?
And again, this is beyond just how beverages are delivered. It involves trash collection, light pollution, bicycle deliveries, which is obviously is a standard for the community board, crowd control with regard to the institution, deliveries. We've agreed to an acoustical survey, which was requested by the neighbors. We're going to work and we're going to make a request for potentially another loading and unloading zone that would that the neighbors would prefer as opposed to the current zone that we have now in front of the building. So again, it's even though this is a in theory a liquor license stipulation, this is goes way beyond that and appreciates the unique nature of the Upper East Side, which was my neighborhood in which I grew up, and I definitely understand the effort to preserve the quality of life there, and I believe that this stipulation will follow that.
Okay, apologies, everyone. My Wi-Fi picked a horrible time to say goodbye, so I am on my phone. Okay, sorry for what I missed. It sounded like you were just talking through some of the stipulations, were you, Mr. Bing?
Yeah. I'm not going for the benefit of all your colleagues, I'm not going to repeat it because I'm sure your meeting is going to be long enough. But yes, it was just basically saying that this goes way beyond just the service of alcohol. This is it touches on many aspects of the operations of the Frick collection and to preserve the quality of life that the neighbors have worked so hard to maintain.
Great, thank you. Okay, so first, if we can unmute a former council member Kalos and then Leslie Samuels thereafter.
First and foremost, just Happy New Year. Thank you to everyone who's here tonight. To Chair Abraham Salcido, thank you for your service on the community board. This is an unpaid position. It does not ever come with thank you. To the committee members, to everyone who spent more than an hour encouraging all of us to come to the table. Thank you. To the community board staff, Will Brightbill and Robert, who may have been caught in the middle at some times, and rightly so, made sure to get us all to the table. So just thank you to everyone. As former Assemblyman Bing mentioned, we've been working with the Frick pretty much nonstop, long hours. It was a pleasure to get to work with Jonathan in a new context. And it was a pleasure to get to know the Frick. And also in working with Les Samuels, his reputation preceded him. And the East 70th Street Block Association was well represented here. And if they ever need to go to the Supreme Court, he's also, the Supreme Court of the United States, he's also admitted there. Ultimately, we fought to make sure we could get stipulations that would provide as much certainty as we could for the community while still allowing the Frick the flexibility to operate for the mission that the community supports. And ultimately, a lot of this is building trust and relying on the Frick to move forward as a good neighbor. And I think this outlines the places where we are more than a year out, but there's an opportunity to work together moving forward. And so this document is very much representative of that, and I'll turn it over to Les Samuels.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am the president of the East 70th Street Block Association, and I'm here to represent them. And I first would like to thank the Street Life Committee for encouraging us in the Frick to sit down and try to work this out. It was actually quite important to us that we knew that you wanted us to come up with a deal, and that was actually, I think, quite instrumental in moving this process along. The Block Association agrees with the stipulations, along with an important cover letter that came with them. And I would mention at some point, Will, I think it would be helpful to put up the cover letter. The Block Association does not oppose the stipulations or the cover letter. Along with Ben Kalos, we have been discussing stipulations with the Frick since December 8th. We've gotten to know each other as a group, and it's been a very intense conversations. The discussions, as I say, have been very intense and frank. And in arriving at these stipulations, we have strongly encouraged the Frick to recognize the interests of their neighbors when making decisions affecting our community. Unfortunately, and I think everyone's probably aware of this, our history with the Frick has been disappointing on a number of fronts. At this point, we sincerely hope that going forward, the Frick will show by its actions that it gives significant weight to the concerns of the neighbors. As Jonathan briefly alluded to, the stipulations cover a range of important topics. These include operations of the cafe, privacy and no light pollution, crowd and traffic controls, an acoustical survey, music, quarterly meetings, a hotline, a loading and unloading zone that Jonathan alluded to, garbage pickup and deliveries, and the bars, which Jonathan briefly described. Our most contentious discussions related to after-hours events, the size of events, the numbers of events, the sponsors of events, and ending times of events. The compromise includes the non-binding cover letter as a way of trying to establish good faith between the Frick and the Block Association. Stipulations cover ending times for events. The Frick insisted on 11 p.m. for some nights and 12 midnight for other nights. One time per year, a Frick event can go to 12:30. We have accepted these ending times in good faith. As a highly negotiated document with much give and take, I think it's not really surprising that the stipulations are not perfect. And I was actually explaining this to my daughter, who's a lawyer out in Park City, Utah, and she said, "Well, Dad, that's what happens when you have a negotiation." And she was right, and I take that and say it in a positive way. To be clear, as I said at the beginning, the Block Association agrees to the stipulations and does not oppose the stipulations or the cover letter. And I appreciate your taking the time to listen to me. And as we go through this, I'm available for any questions or comments. So thank you, Abraham, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Yes, Happy New Year. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Great. Then with that, I'm seeing a couple of hands from the public. So I will go to those first. And then I see some hands from my fellow committee members. And we will go to those. I've looked at the stipulations, and they are quite comprehensive, and I think they amount to a good result, and they do surpass the previously lengthiest stipulations that we had. So congrats on that. Goes to the thoroughness of your conversations. Okay, so the first hand that I see from the public is Patricia Lunka.
Patricia, you should be seeing a prompt.
Here we go. Here we go. Yes. Okay. I have done this before. Yes, my name is Pat Lunka, and I've resided at 3 East 71 for about 30 years. And it's encouraging to hear that East 70th Street and the Frick have obtained some resolution. The Frick does have other neighbors, of course, on 71st Street, and we have not yet reached that closure. So certainly we would love to review the settlement by 70th Street, but we do have an outstanding letter to the Frick, and we would like some time to pursue some of those outstanding issues. But allow me for a moment to take a step back. As you know, the Frick is on streets, narrow streets, with a single, traffic passageway. There are a few single family residences and a few single family homes, no commercial neighbors. Despite a garden and a wide sidewalk avenue setback, the Frick isn't on Fifth Avenue, nor did the expansion plans relocate it to Fifth Avenue. The mansion is not configured to disgorge large crowds of people and cars on narrow side streets. Consider the Met, Morgan Library, the former Brewer, Guggenheim, and many other museums. They are set back on avenues, providing more distance and managing crowds and noise with respect to the residences. Their avenue frontage also affords multiple traffic lanes to manage and control traffic and bottlenecks. So fast forward, the original application was shy on details. I am very grateful to hear some details have been reviewed and discussed, and we do look forward to reviewing them. However, it seems as though when one looks at the original filing, which provided for a small cafe with limited capacity, daily hours, daytime hours, limited menu, inside the museum, it seems as though a contract with a major aggressive caterer and the request for 17 bars seems to deviate egregiously with what one thinks of the mission of the collection, because it is not a museum. So I think from a more strategic philosophical level, we are quite concerned that the modus operandi of the Frick collection will not be the same in the future as it was in the past. So I urgently request the committee to postpone the Frick vote, allowing 71st Street to review what's been agreed upon, discussed, and resolve some of our own issues. And quite frankly, beyond that, I think it is just important to not only think about the neighborhood and the peaceful and quiet enjoyment of life, but also the consistency with the mission that this liquor application implies. Thanks very much for listening to my comments.
Can I ask a follow-up, Pat? What can you elaborate a little more on the nature of your specific kind of asks of the Frick?
Patricia, you have to unmute.
Forgive me. Just hearing for the first time the agreement with 70th Street, 17 to 14 liquor license isn't materially different, in all honesty. It still does suggest renting out the space as an events hall, which is simply not the purpose of this fine institution. So I think we perhaps might have more restrictive requests. But again, I have not seen what's been negotiated. I appreciate greatly the time spent by 70th Street. And in no way am I saying that, our street is conflicting with them. I think we need to review it. And again, we may have additional concerns just as we reflect on the mission of this august collection.
Thank
It's an
you.
art collection within a home. The home happens to be a mansion. So we're thinking of it from that strategic and philosophical perspective as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I understand Carolyn Harris is also has her hand raised to speak on behalf of 71st, I believe.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for recognizing me, even ahead of other members of East 71st Street or of the public. Thank you. And let me lower my hand. There we go. We're really, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Caroline Harris. I'm a partner at the law firm of Goldman Harris, which is a land use firm in New York. I have to admit to having gotten into this discussion rather late I came a little late to the party. Ben Kalos and his team have done an extraordinary work in laying the groundwork for a good agreement with the Frick. We met with them last week and got a lot of information that was extremely helpful and informative about how the Frick expected to operate with the liquor license, including the number of events they anticipated having, where access would be provided for the events, how 71st Street would not be used in connection with the events, or loading or garbage, and so on. Some of the issues we raised are indeed addressed in the stipulation, which I only had a chance to read like a minute before, maybe not even before your meeting started, but after. I think I started reading it at 6:34. And I've been very quickly trying to compare it with the letters that we wrote to the Frick, summarizing our conversation, and then asking for a few additional items. Certain facts that they explained or procedures and functioning that they explained in our meeting are not reflected in the stipulation. For example, we were told that the Fifth Avenue Garden would only be used 3 or 4 times a year, and just based on the first paragraph of the hours that it could be open, it would be 6 times a year. So I appreciate that a lot of progress has been made with the people on 70th Street, but quite a few of the concerns of 71st Street haven't been addressed or have been addressed in a manner contrary to what was said in our meeting. I would like to take the opportunity to read both our letter again carefully, comparing it with the stipulations, and see if there are many, what are the issues that would be of greatest concern to East 71st Street, to have confirmed by the Frick. If we need to put it in a stipulation, so be it. But the items that we were particularly concerned about relating to the use of 71st Street or the non-use of 71st Street are not included in the stipulation. And limiting the number of events to what the number that they've had historically is something that's very important to the residents on East 71st Street, and there's no such limitation. It's very vague. So those are 2 salient issues for my people. The third has to do with light, and I don't know why the Frick can't be more definitive about turning the lights off above the 2nd floor after 9 o'clock at night. It's very easy to do, and I'm not sure why they're uncomfortable making that kind of representation, or promising that shades would be pulled down so that the light doesn't bother people across the street. So I agree wholeheartedly with what Ms. Lunka said. If we would appreciate it if this committee would not issue its recommendation until we have a chance to review it and either submit comments or come to another meeting and express our concerns at that meeting. Perhaps in the interim, we'll get a more definitive response from the Frick relating to the issues we raised in our letter. All of the committee members should have a copy of that letter in their packet, and all the members of Community Board 8 also should have a copy of that letter.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, when would you like me to respond? Do you want all the neighborhood residents to speak first, and then, or
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was going to go to the next two members of the public hands, and then I was going to go to you to take your view on that before I go to committee members.
Great, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. No. That I was about to ask you or to say the same thing. So thank you. Okay, so let's go to Catherine Bristor first, and then I have John K. Before I go back to Mr. Bing.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
First, I want to thank the Frick and especially Les Samuels for the amazing job that the distance that they have come since the last meeting that we had. Les truly has the character of our neighborhood in mind. I live across from the Frick. I've lived there for close to 30 years. It's always been a pretty quiet street. Yes, there were parties here and there. It was never a big deal. But the whole idea that there are going to be more parties and that the Frick is unwilling to commit to what to me seems like a reasonable closing time for all events, which would be 10 or 11. I honestly don't understand that or why they wouldn't agree to a limit of how many they would do. And also the trash pickup is a huge issue. I don't understand why Fifth Avenue trash pickup would not be so much better. It certainly would be better for the residents of 70th Street and 71st Street. There's a big lane there that there could be a special spot to bring the garbage out, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Living for the last, how long have you guys been under construction? 2 or 3 years with the garbage trucks and the grinding, and every single morning has been a nightmare. And I don't understand why you wouldn't agree to something that seems like it ought to be relatively simple to make life more pleasant for the people who live right across from the Frick and who don't want to hear garbage trucks or trash pickups every day between 8 or 9 or whatever you've committed to do your best to do. Fifth Avenue, no one will hear it except the employees of the Frick. Whereas on 70th Street, it affects the whole block. Once again, thank you for letting me speak, and thank you to Les for everything you've done for us.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go to John K.
Hi, it's Jenny.
Hello.
Hi, I'm also a resident of 3 East 71st Street, and I want to thank the committee for allowing me to air my concerns. And as has already been stated, we're very impressed with the progress and the hard work and the discussions facilitated by East 70th Street. We're only seeing these stipulations now, however, so we've had very little time to review them. And we also had our letter with our concerns that have not been answered or addressed. But more fundamentally and more basically, I think what is concerning to us is that the Frick was very detailed in its press releases and its plans for the upgrade. And it emphasized at all times that it was to create new resources for gallery space, for special exhibitions, for public education, public programs, upgrading visitor amenities, accessibility. And it said, introducing the institution's first cafe. I'm quoting there from the press release. A cafe, not a license to operate 17 bars. My point there is that in that press release that I just quoted from, and in many, many subsequent press releases and explanations of the upgrade, there was never ever any request or stated explanation of its intention of turning the quote 60,000 square feet of repurposed space into entertainment facilities. And I mean by that, whether they be bars, dining rooms, cocktail party, private functions, corporate functions, we really don't know because we never received any kind of detailed explanation of these events or these repurposed spaces. And that's concerning. It's mostly concerning in the request for a license for 17 bars. And while I am delighted that they have downgraded to 14, I think that the very size of the original request, 17, speaks to the Frick's ambition, as it were, to cater many large and various events, turning the Frick complex, which was a gallery in which we were told the upgrade was for more space, more rooms for education, is in fact more rooms for entertainment, more rooms for private functions, which is obviously clearly a new revenue stream for the Frick complex. And that is very, very concerning at a very basic level. I think mostly it's concerning for us as a neighborhood, as good neighbors on a trust level. This was never part of the original proposal. That means to me that the original proposal somewhat misrepresented the use of this space. The Frick didn't suddenly decide that in addition to a cafe with limited capacity and limited hours, it would add 17 bars. So this was an unstated mission that was part of the construction plan all along. When you decimated the old music hall, you did not tell us that part of the repurposed space would be for 17 bars, probably because it would not be looked on with favor. So whether it's 17 or 14 in the end is not my point, and I don't want to sit here and quibble. What I don't want to is rush this proposal through when it has not been carefully considered, and when the ramifications to our neighborhood, to our families, to our children have not been carefully considered, given that we received endless detailed press releases and plans to which none of this was ever mentioned. Nothing beyond a limited cafe. And I took the time to read through all of the press releases and the plans that were presented from the beginning. So this is a sort of sudden, dramatic departure from all of those stated goals. It seems rather capricious and very much in violation with the stated goals to enlarge the Frick as a cherished cultural institution. Now we are talking about turning it into a late night party event. And whether you're talking about 11 p.m., 12 a.m., or 12:30 on the weekends, while all of that is very concerning and will have to be worked out, I would like a pause, a delay, so that we can have a much clearer, more transparent presentation from the Frick on what is really intended. Because the language, even on a cursory inspection of the language just received, it's we seek to, we will try, we would like to, we intend, but these are not, this is very vague legal language given the years of proposals we had leading up to this expansion. So I don't want to hurry this through when we really don't know what we're getting into. We have no idea. We don't know how big these kitchens are going to be. They're talking about special vents for cooking. What are we actually getting into? I don't think we know. The language is too vague.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have David Hubert.
Hi, my name is David Hubert. I'm not a local resident. I'm a slightly distant one, about a mile north of you. But I've been a resident of New York for the past 85 years. Many of those years I spent working in museums. I was the director of education at the Whitney for more than 10 years. I was the founding director of the IBM Gallery of Science and Art. I've done many museums. And the first thing I want to say is that while a student at the Institute of Fine Art, I spent many, many evenings or afternoons working at the library at the Frick. It was a wonderful place. The Frick itself is a wonderful place. I love it. And I wanted to address the issue of the large number of potential fundraising activities that the Frick is pointing toward when they talk about even 14 bars, which is still a remarkable number of bars for an institution that is a cultural and educational, not-for-profit institution. We know that all of these institutions need a significant amount of income, and they have to figure out ways to do it. But one way to do it is not to interfere with its role as providing a very welcoming environment for people who want to look at works of art, who want to be able to be moved by them, not to simply party near them. I would suggest very strongly that you not only address, as a community board, the issues of the immediate environment, but the recognition that all of us in the city, all of us in basically the state, have a very real commitment to the Frick, because we pay for their policing, we pay for the fire department, we pay for their water, sanitation, and so on, and they don't pay the taxes. Would you please thank everybody who has been making these wonderful comments about the immediate effects of the Frick plan at this moment to affect the local residents, but also recognize that that extends to the larger environment of all the people who are going to be coming to the Frick. How many times will school groups have to be chased out because they have to set up their bars, and you don't want kids around where the bars are being set up? How many times will we have to worry about what might happen if you have that much activity not related to the purpose of showing art and talking to people about the art itself? And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, nextly I have M. Hitzman.
Hey, how are you guys? Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. I'm a resident, like some of my neighbors here at 3 East 71st Street. We actually have a duplex. I have a live show to the construction for the past 24 months, so I can speak directly to some of my experiences with the Frick. And hi, Liz, Daly. Nice to put the name to the face. It's been a slight nightmare, I'm not going to lie. This is close to a $200 million project, I believe. And this seems to be like an afterthought. Like, oh, we're going to now go for, multiple liquor licenses. And I say multiple over 10. It's great that you reduced, from whatever it is to 14 down by 3. Don't you think it's fair for the neighbors of our building, our street, to have the opportunity to review what you've come to conclusion with here? I only found out about this maybe 2 weeks ago, so I'm a little late to the party, but I have I have 2 daughters. They both go to Hewitt neighborhood school, and I'm in here for the long haul. So I don't want to live in something in perpetuity just because you want to jam this through for your benefit. And I'm fine waiting, and you should be fine waiting, because I've been living through your construction project for almost 2 years, and I just don't see the point of just jamming this through. That's just my 2 cents. And I think a lot of people collectively would agree. This seems to be rushed. It seems to be an afterthought. I appreciate everyone's comments. I've heard this through. I watched the last Zoom that was videotaped, but I just don't get why this needs to be rushed, on the first week of the new year. I think people should have the opportunity to think this through thoughtfully, because we're going to live with this for a long time. And as of all the points that have been brought up tonight, this is a residential neighborhood. All the residents on East 70th and East 71st are going to have to live with this. I don't care what you say this evening. It is going to affect traffic. It's going to affect my life. And you know what really bothers me the most is the Frick didn't give a hoot about opening up the construction barriers on the weekend. I pleaded with Liz to do that, and she said no, they don't need to do that. And you know what? One night decamping from our car because we blocked the entire block getting out of our building. You know what a guy on a motorcycle decided to do? Cut down the sidewalk and almost ran one of my kids over. So From my perspective, you can wait, and I would respectfully ask to delay this project, or at least have us an opportunity to, do what you've agreed to, and give us, an opportunity to think this through ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Jennifer McBride.
Thank you very much. I'll go on camera for all of you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the nature of Community Board and its volunteers. Thank you very much. I also appreciate the conversations that we've engaged with the Frick in. However, I would respectfully request that the committee hold over their decision today so that we can ensure that the non-use of 71st Street is included in the stipulations, and also limit the number of events to what was held in the past so that the Frick does not become a nighttime operation. They said this is not their goal, and I'd like to believe them in that. However, having that in writing is of utmost importance to us. I appreciate what Mr. Hebert said about appreciating the art without it being a party space. And I think that that is also really important, not only to the residents in the neighborhood, but also to art and culture enthusiasts in our city and beyond. Turning the lights out after 9 p.m. at night is also of great importance, not only to our building on East 71st Street, but as well as to the other neighbors who have a line of sight of the building. So it's not just 70th and 71st Street, it goes beyond. I also would like to recall that we have been suffering with tremendous light pollution over the last 4 years that the Frick has been under construction with lights hanging under the scaffold, which Ms. Daly has, even though I've requested if we could come up with a way to provide some sort of shade to provide relief, she has said no to, and that it would not be considered. So if that's just for a temporary construction, what does this mean for us moving forward as we live together, which I think we really can do in harmony. And I appreciate what the Frick stands for, and I want them to be a good neighbor, and I would love to continue going to the institution. So turning the lights off after 9 p.m. at night is of great importance, not only to us, but also in our residential neighborhood. I have legitimate concern about nighttime disruption, especially raising children, where sleep is one of the most important factors for their mental health and their well-being. To have that disrupted on a regular basis, if we haven't been able to get to a number of events. And so if we have a party every week or 2 parties a week, that is a tremendous burden on this residential neighborhood. I really would appreciate if you would hold over your decision until we have a chance to review and discuss with the Frick. I do believe that we can get to a mutual agreement, as they've been able to get to agreement with 70th Street. And while 71st Street has been included in some of the stipulations, I think we need some more clarity, and we need the benefit of time to be able to do this together and do it right so that we can be great friends and continue on. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Bing, a lot to respond to, digest.
Right. I think, well, the most important is regarding the number of bars. As we've said repeatedly, the number of bars represents the locations where in the building bars may exist. It does not mean they're going to be used at the same time. I handled the liquor license for the Geffen Hall. They have 29 bar licenses. They're not using 29 bars all the time. In fact, past history, the most number of bars that have been used at the Frick for any event has been 5, which is the Young Fellows event. So this is only the way that New York State Liquor Authority applications require you to submit them is that you get a bar license for every place that a bar may be. That is why we're going to be applying, should we receive the board support for 14 licenses. Not that they're going to be used. There are provisions in the stipulation which address when multiple bars are going to be used. But again, it is not the bar licenses are for the locations where bars may exist It is not about using them all at the same time. This is what the State Liquor Authority application requires, and that's why we are seeking this, which every other cultural institution does the same thing without dispute by the communities in which they exist in. So that's the first thing. The second thing with regard to East 71st Street, and appreciate all the neighbors who are there, but just so, to clarify the record that, ever since Halloween, the Frick has been reaching out to the East 71st Street neighbors to invite them to a community meeting in mid-November, to invite them to a second community meeting in late November, at which this was discussed. When emails bounced back, Liz dutifully tried to figure out who, the right person to make sure that they received notice. Board chairs of the buildings that were mentioned tonight were received direct communications about these meetings. The postings all throughout the neighborhood for the last board meeting. And again, so, I just want to make sure that it's understood that, the community on East 71st Street has been invited to meetings on this subject with regard to the liquor licensing, invited as early as Halloween, and invited to meetings in November, to which they decided not to participate. We received a letter from their representative in late December, very cordial, and we, because it was the holiday week, we weren't able to mutually agree on a time. We met with them last week, and we received their request for information, not stipulations, not mentioned in that letter, but request for information at 11:30 last night. So, we've not been able to respond to that letter. We were busily working with Les and his colleagues to come up with a resolution tonight. But again, there was outreach directly to the neighbors, including specific people on this call and their buildings, going back for several months. So, regardless of what the board decides tonight, I just want to make clear that the outreach was to 71st Street as well as 70th Street. And we had a very cordial, positive meeting last week, and we look to build on that going forward. Secondly, with regard to the garbage pickup, as stated in the stipulations, and with the advocacy of Les and Ben, we will be applying to DOT with regard to allow for garbage pickup on Fifth Avenue. We agreed to that, and that we would make the request with the support of East 70th Street. So, we understand that for many on the, in between the avenues, they would prefer to have that take place on Fifth Avenue. Les made very passionately advocated for that, so we are going to make that request to DOT, do the advocacy of your neighbors. Let me see. We also, again, at Les's suggestion, agreed to have quarterly meetings throughout this process to make sure, and we will invite everyone to make sure, that's here, including community board representatives and neighborhood representatives, to make sure we have a direct line of communication, and of course, emails and calls, in between those. Let's see. Mr. Chairman, is there anything that was my list? Is there anything else you'd like me to address from the comments that were made?
No, the only other question I'd have is what further kind of conversations do you expect to have with 71st based on kind of their request from the night and previous outreach, if any?
Yeah, well, as I said, we got their letter at 11:30 last night, after several months of outreach, and we will of course continue to meet with them. They have very, very good real estate as well as advocacy counsel, whom I both know and respect. So we will continue to meet with them. We did provide them with a lot of information, which they've said has been helpful, and obviously continue that discussion, not just with regard to the community process, but throughout the existence of the once the institution opens. So obviously we'll continue those conversations, and again, we turned around scheduling a meeting and as quickly as we could once we did receive that outreach in late December.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Yeah, hi, this is Liz Daly, Community and Government Affairs Manager at the Frick Collection. So thank you to the committee. one thing that has come up repeatedly has been that this notion that the Frick is mutating into something other than what it is. And we're not, okay? We have always been a world-class art museum and reference library, and that is exactly what we will still be. That is our mission. Anything that we do supports that mission. The events that we have are cultivation events to bring in new people, to introduce them to the Frick, to raise money for our program. So we're not going to become a catering hall. We're not using 60,000 square feet of space for events. Events will take place, as Jonathan said, in limited locations. We're not going to have thousands of people. Our focus is on the art. And I want to be very, very clear about that. That is our focus, and everything we do revolves around the art. So that's all I wanted to.
There are so many legal documents that govern the operation of the Frick. I mean, there's actually state law that for the creation of the Frick collection, in addition to all the laws it has to follow with regard to nonprofits and the like. So and its requirement that it follow its stated mission. So again, we understand that right now people feel that they're under siege from the world that we live in right now. And we again, it's with sincere respect to all the neighbors and their advocacy. And there are a lot of other things you could be doing right now, and you're spending your time at a community board meeting to advance the cause of the community. And we appreciate that. But again, there are so many limitations and requirements on a nonprofit and a cultural institution that it could not become what has been alleged that it may become based on the law, in addition to the stipulation that we would sign tonight, as well as the dedication to meeting these neighborhood concerns by the representatives who are here this evening.
Great, thank you. Okay, I see two more hands from the public. I'll take those. I'm doing a last call for members of the public because I do want to wind down discussion on this before I go to my committee members. So I'll go to Jane Bergere, Bergere, and then to MGJ.
Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate that. I live at 3 East 71st Street and have lived here for oops, I lose myself here, many years. And actually, I feel a little bit blindsided because I spent a great deal of time discussing the plans for the Frick when this was going on for a number of years. And I spent many, many times down at the board talking to people, getting people to understand what was happening. I was involved with what the plans for the Frick were. And I finally felt that maybe, it was going to work out fine. So to all of a sudden turn around and find out that these enormous amounts of bars and spaces for entertainment and so forth are being thought about, I would greatly ask you, respectfully ask the committee to please reconsider this, because this is all brand new to me. I had no idea when we agreed to what the Frick planned to do several years ago, and which they've been doing for 4 years now. I had no idea that this was going to exacerbate into party spaces and bars and lots of restaurants and so on. So I would respectfully ask the Frick and the Community 8 to please review this carefully. And I don't believe that I've never heard of being asked to talk about this in the past few days or months or so forth. So perhaps we could have more conversations going on, and I'm sure we can come to a plausible resolution. But I do think that we need some more time to do that. And I would respectfully ask Community Board 8 to do that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, last member of the public on this topic, MGJ.
Hi, it's Michael G. Jesselson. Thank you. First of all, thank you for everyone. It's been extremely constructive comments, and everybody's put a lot of work into this. I just wanted to comment on some of the things that Mr. Bing and that Liz said recently. Mr. Bing went to great length to say how 71st was not responsive, and didn't respond and so forth over months, he says. Then he says Halloween, so call it 2 months. Whatever. First of all, it's not accurate. We were responsive, maybe not responsive enough, but the real issue is, are we to be penalized? Are we now to be told we don't have a voice at the table? These are issues that will affect us going forward, and to deny us a right to speak. And we've been trying to do catch up, and there's reasons why we may not have been as early as our neighbors on 70th Street. But if the Frick wants to be a good neighbor, there's two sides to this neighborhood, and 71st Street should get its proper opportunity to comment on its own demand, on its own concerns. And then, as far as Liz and Mr. Bing saying that you're not changing the Frick, which I appreciate. What I know is still going to remain an art venue, but if that's really the case, so don't ask for 14 bars. Go back to 5. If you're saying, I appreciate you say that 14 won't be used at all time, fine. So change it to 5. If things aren't going to change, then let's go back to things as before. Clearly, there's going to be changes, and we really don't know fully because the Frick hasn't told us what to expect. But we heard about contracts with very serious catering establishments. We talked about the number of events, they're arguing over the hours. So clearly, this is a change. And to say, and whether it's 14 bars, whether they're used all the time, or 12 are used, or 10 are used, it's a change. And if it wouldn't be, they wouldn't be arguing it. So give us a chance to discuss it. That's all we were asking. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Okay, that's going to do it for the public portion of the comments on this.
Mr. Chairman, before you turn to the board, may I just briefly, I don't want to, no back and forth on notice, just one point I wanted to. Just a point to keep in mind, the reason we are here is that the Frick is going to have a cafe in the new building. If the Frick was not asking for a cafe, it would continue to get the one-day permits it always had in perpetuity prior to its closure due to the renovation. So again, they had one-day permits, catering permits all throughout the building. Les has mentioned a couple of instances where the neighborhood was concerned, and we appreciate that and want to address that. But again, the difference between now and then is that they are seeking to have a neighborhood or a museum amenity of a cafe, which requires the acquisition of a permanent liquor license. But these events have occurred at the Frick for decades. Due to one-day permits, and but for them seeking to have a cafe, we wouldn't be here because that's what they would go back to doing. But it's going to be a better institution because of the community input. But it's not. We're not saying there's a sea change from what it was before. The difference is that because of the cafe, we are asking for a permanent license. Again, the state liquor authority application, there are no mobile bars. So you seek a bar application for every place where a bar could be, the same places. It's not exactly the same building, of course, but the same types of places where they were before. And we're here seeking support from the community board because of the introduction of a cafe, which is going to be really just an amenity for the building, not a hotspot. And something that we think that the neighbors and attendees of the collection will enjoy having. Again, apologize for interrupting before you to the board members.
Thank you, Mr. Bing. All right, I'm going to go to Russell Squire, then Alita Camp.
I'd like to move to approve the application with the stipulations, and if it's seconded, I'll speak to it.
I'm seeing 1 second.
Yeah,
yes, okay. Yeah, there's okay.
So, I think the stipulations that have been reached after it sounds like a long effort and a number of meetings are very comprehensive. They're very reasonable. I think maybe it was you, Abraham, who said they're the longest stipulations we've ever had for an application. So, I mean, just looking at them, ex ante, I think it's a very reasonable resolution that has been arrived at. And, you know, I think the reality is that this liquor license affects 70th Street more than 71st Street. The fact that the residents of 70th Street are on board with it, you know, frankly, I think that honestly should suffice. You know, in addition to the fact that 71st Street had the opportunity to participate. But setting that aside, even, you know, what I haven't heard, what it sounds like, there's a lot of talk about sort of hypothetical concerns that it might be possible for people to find if they had more time to scrutinize the stipulations, and, you know, that we should sort of allow time for them to do that so that they can sort of decide if they can come up with things that they oppose in the stipulations. And that's really not what the process should be, and I don't think that's constructive. And what the purpose of this meeting and meetings like this is for members of the community, to the extent that they have concerns, to come here and bring those to us, so that we can discuss them and address them. And that, you know, happened last month. And then, you know, that's really what the process should be here today. So I think to the extent that there are actual specifics that we've heard tonight, I think, first of all, just going to the letter that we all received from 71st Street back in December, it said that they echo the concerns of the 70th Street Block Association. We know that those have been resolved through the compromise in the stipulations that they reached. It talks about noise from music and inebriated guests. That's addressed in the stipulations. Pedestrian and vehicular traffic. That's addressed in the stipulations. Parking, standing of vehicles. That's addressed in the stipulations. Garbage. That's addressed in the stipulations. So, you know, those concerns that were addressed in the letter, I think, have been addressed adequately from my perspective. I think it sounded like there was one member of the public who just thinks that they shouldn't have a liquor license at all. I don't think that that's a reasonable demand, personally. You know, the question of whether they should be allowed to have 6 outdoor events versus 5, I think 6 is okay. I don't think it has to be 5. I don't think that's a reason to sort of, for us to disapprove. I think the issue of the lights, it's addressed in the stipulations. And also, I think to have a sort of blanket ban on any lights after such and such a time basically means that no one can work in the building after that time. I don't think that's a reasonable ask. But when it comes to the time during which they're allowed to have events, that's spelled out very clearly and in detail in the stipulations. We know that there's no use of 71st Street for events. So to the extent that was a concern, that's not happening. And the concern, I think, more broadly about the idea that the mission of the museum is changing, or that it shouldn't change from being a museum, that is in writing. It's in writing in the cover letter. It's in writing in the stipulations. They say they're not going to become a catering hall. And it's also in the, I guess I didn't even know this, but apparently it's in the incorporation and other sort of legal, you know, incorporation documents and what have you. But also just in terms of what they're describing of how they're going to use the space, I just think there hasn't been any acknowledgement. The explanation that the reason they're doing the number of bars they're doing is because they need approval for each location that they might use. And the point is not to have all of these locations in use at the same time. It just seems like that's going over everybody's head. No one is actually acknowledging that. And all of the comments are basically saying, why are they going to have 14 bars at the same time? Why are they? They've said very clearly that they're not. So just as a matter of process in terms of this committee and what we do, I don't think it would be right to sort of whiplash the Frick by making them come back again. I mean, they've already now come back a second time. I think they have really they've done what we asked. They have engaged very, very seriously with the community and their concerns. They've come up with very substantive and comprehensive stipulations. And I don't think we should send them back a second time. I think that would make it very hard for us to get this kind of engagement, which is what we want, in the future. They've done what we asked. I think the resolution they came to is reasonable. And the last thing I'll say is just in terms of trash pickup on Fifth Avenue, I think if we were to pass a resolution of approval, conceivably the chair of the board could write a letter in support of the Frick's application on that, but I would obviously leave that to the board chair.
Thank you, Russell. Okay, so next I have Alita.
And again, Mr. Chairman, I should want me to wait till all the board members speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that. We have 5, so once we get through Elizabeth Ashby, then you can come back.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you. I oppose the idea of supporting a resolution at this moment and agree with some of the residents because this is an opportunity, and I commend the Frick and I commend the 70th Street Block Association for meeting hard and vigorously over the last few weeks to come up with a fairly comprehensive set of resolutions. And again, as a mediator, I know that that can be very difficult, but really appreciate the efforts that they went to. Nevertheless, the Frick is an important institution. It's a critical institution to the thriving of New York as a world cultural center, but there are people who live on this street. Unlike other museums, it's a quiet residential street, which has been pointed out numerous times, so I won't belabor it. The 71st Street residents may have different interests and should be acknowledged in some way by meeting over a period of time. For me, as a lawyer, there's some vague language in the stipulation, and there was no time to read it carefully before this meeting since it came 3 minutes before the meeting started. For instance, in the 71st Street letter, they're asking for best efforts. In the stipulation, the Frick is talking about reasonable efforts. We know that there is a difference. If they're not going to be using the bars all at once, put that into the stipulation. And Abraham, I have a question for you. It also says that the acoustical report will be shared before being finalized. I'm not even sure what that means, to share something. It doesn't seem to invite public comment or interest in this. And the only reason I'm spending time on this is because there's a conflict or a tension between the interests of the Frick and the interests of the residents. And I think more time needs, or I would recommend that more time be spent on that. The asking for the cafe is what is allowed public input. I noted that the letters from the elected officials supporting the application refer specifically to the cafe and not to permits for after hours parties going till midnight with noise going until 1 a.m. Abraham, my question for you is this stipulation binding if it's included in a resolution?
Stipulations included with our resolutions to SLA are included to the grant of the license that SLA gives. So yes, they are binding. That's the process that they've adhered to for all of our applications and our stipulations to resolutions.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to
a positive resolution, just to declare.
I understand.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And thank you, Jonathan. I have one more comment. The Frick is set back from Fifth Avenue. The entrance is not on Fifth Avenue. I was out over the weekend actually at the Nassau County Museum of Art, which was the mansion that Henry Clay Frick had given to his son as a gift for he and his wife to raise their 4 children. And that is sitting on what seemed to me, and I don't really know, to be hundreds of acres of land because it's not visible from the road. It's not visible from the side road, off the main road. And so clearly a preservation of habitat from surrounding noise, from the hubbub, if you will, of Fifth Avenue, of surrounding streets was obviously really important to Mr. Frick. And I just ask that the current museum give the residents the same consideration that Mr. Frick clearly wanted in building his mansion and in building the mansion for his child. Thank you. And thank you for your time, Abraham and John.
Thank you, Lita. Okay, next I have Marco, then Jane, and then Elizabeth.
Thank you, Abraham. I have an introduction, a couple of questions, 3 questions on my statements. That will be okay?
Yes, Marco, that is okay.
Thank you. First of all, I had to say kudos to the 2 attorneys, Mr. Bean and Mr. Bekelos. They have been working very hard. Also, the Frick Museum that collaborate a lot. I think you did a wonderful job, but I think we need to work a little bit more, especially when the neighbors are complaining that they need to have their input in the process. And that we are not going, personally myself, I don't have the intentions to deny this application. My intention is just only to postpone 1 month, 2 months, and I will explain why later. Community board is the densest community board in the city. Therefore, in the state and in the nation, The museum is proposing to have a new incidental use, which would trigger a stifling traffic condition and an incidental use in this area of this proposal. On the other hand, I believe the community's concerns are on the new incidental use, the museum restaurant, and especially the catering hall, and traffic, triggering its grievancy of the residents of the area. Now, the questions. Distinguished former city council and attorney Mr. Bean. My first question is, as per DOB records, this building does not have a new certificate of occupancy nor a certificate of operation. Is that correct?
First of all, I as a former state assemblyman, not a council member, I wouldn't want to be downgraded
Sorry.
to council member.
I'm sorry for that.
You know, so, but as a side, so no, it does not have a certificate of occupancy. It's going to have public, obviously that it's going to have a public assembly permits. Again, another restriction on what can occur there. I should mention also that that the state liquor authority does not require a certificate of occupancy for a liquor license, for the initial liquor license, but obviously in order to operate as a building, it's going to have one. So no, it does not have that yet. As you know, it's still a construction project. But it will have a CO and we'll have public assembly permits, which will also have further restriction on how many people can be in certain spaces within the building.
Thank you. I never tried to minimize your position at all, and I apologize for that. The second question is, are you planning to obtain the new CO and new certificate of operation? And how many people will this venue have?
So yes, there is going to be a certificate of occupancy for the building. Again, it's still in the construction process. We have estimations as to what it might be. But again, whatever that number is in the certificate of occupancy does not mean that it's going to result in events including that number of people in the building. It's there are non-public spaces. There are again, whatever that number ends up being, it does not mean that they're going to be aiming to have that number of people in the building at any given time. There's not going to be, as the general counsel for the Frick has said, there's not going to be a party in her office once the building opens. So again, there will be a certificate of occupancy, though it's not required for the liquor license, but that number is purely a measure of the space involved times the number of human beings that could be there, not an indication of that the building will ever host that number of people for anything. At most, in terms of the past, again, it's a different building, but there's probably been something. I mean, again, the number of events that will have multiple hundreds of people are very small, and the stipulation really dictates that they have had basically 3 annual. Now I wouldn't say galas because maybe there's only one ago, but we've had 3 sort of big events a year. And while that may be a little bit higher in the opening year to sort of introduce the world to the new space, that general intention is what is preserved.
Thank you. The only thing I had to let you know that the museum have 1,867 people, and the new proposal is 2,082 people. And you said that it's not going to be that. That is correct, because the certificate of operation is going to determine that part. I agree with that part. So now the final question is, you're requesting the liquor license for the cellar and floors from 1 to 9. Is that correct?
Right. Again, it's dictated by the way that a liquor license application is required to be. You can't have a break-in space within a licensed entity. So like every other cultural institution, the building itself is licensed, but obviously there's some rare book collection rooms and rare art collection rooms that would never be any events taking place. But yes, the building we are seeking to license the building. We've identified to E70s and E70, where the bars would be, and obviously, preservation and advancement of the mission of the collection is at the forefront, and nothing that would ever happen that would ever put any of the collection at risk.
Thank you. as per chapter 1 was amended by the local law 77 of 2023. This law was in effective date of June 10, 2023, chapter 1, article 117, places of assembly. Regulation 28-117.1, place of assembly certificate of operation. It shall be unlawful to use or occupy any building or space, including an outdoor space, as a place of assembly without a certificate of operation issued by the commissioner. An application for certificate of operation shall be made to the department in such a form and containing such information as the commissioner shall provide. The department shall inspect every place of assembly space prior to the issuance of the certificate of operation. The commissioner shall not issue a certificate of operation unless the department determines that the space conforms substantially with the approved construction documents and to this code or the 1968 building code as applicable, and that certificate of occupancy authorizes such use. A certificate of operation shall not be issued to a place or assembly providing seating or other movable furnishings unless the commissioner approves a plan conforming to this code or the 1968 building code as applicable and the rules of the department. Seating and other movable furnishing shall be maintained at all times during the occupancy in accordance with the approved plan. Any amendment of such a plan shall be subject to prior approval of the commissioner. Regulation 28-117.1.1 contains of the places of assembly certificate of operation. The certificate of operation shall contain a place of assembly certificate number and the number of persons. I'm finished. I'm finished.
The answer is we're going to apply for everything that you've mentioned. There'll be a TCO before we open the comment I made regarding the certificate of occupancy is that the SLA issued an advisory that a certificate of occupancy is not a requirement as part of the liquor authority application. But every provision you've mentioned will be secured, including a TCO. They have many people in-house and outside that will make sure that happens, and they will be operating according to all relevant building codes.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. As per DOB records, the last action that you did, that the applicant, the construction documents did, was on 4/23/21. So almost 3 years without no actions. That means the construction have some delays, and I don't know why, but no action was made, no efforts to improve with the direction of the TCO. That's what you're saying. So there is no action in that direction, and therefore 3 years and to wait 1 month more, I don't think it's going to affect you. So let me continue, and then I'm going to finish with my part. Then, as per zoning resolution, the location of the museum is within group 1 and 2, which is residential, and the museum is within group 4 of community facilities. The restaurant is within the group 6 or C1, which is to support the residential district, and catering, and the catering is within group 9, which has more traffic than the group 6. I believe the catering service is the main issue right here. In addition, we need these CO and PAA documents before to make any decisions, because the experts are, you know very well, are DOB. They are interpreted the law and they enforce the law. And we need to have an opinion, because most of the neighbors, they came right here to complain what is inside. And the best is to have these documents and show the residents of the area and they demonstrate that there's a legal use that's going to happen inside of this document. Personally, myself, I think you have plenty of time to do to postpone 1 month or 2 months until you reach a good agreement with the most of the neighbors. I don't think that the other neighbors has been participating in the process, and I'm serious concerned with that. I think you has been doing a very good job, and I respect that, and I applaud what you has been doing working with Mr. Carlos. And I think the only hope that I have, please continue working in that direction, because I don't want to recommend the disapproval. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco. Marco, Jane, and then Elizabeth.
Thank you, Abraham. I just want to say one thing to sort of cut through everything I've been hearing tonight. The horse left the gate when the City Planning Commission granted the zoning variances to the Frick and when the Landmarks Commission gave a certificate of appropriateness to the Frick. This is why we are here tonight. Believe me, the Frick is adding to its operating costs. It will need to host many events to pay for the additional operating costs. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jane. Elizabeth.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank the Frick and the community for the enormous effort they put into developing these stipulations. It certainly, I'm sure, was not easy, but I'm very concerned here. I think we're here to protect the residential community, its character, its livability. And on the other hand, to me, the Frick is very special, unique, a wonderful museum. And I think the other thing we have to look at is we have to protect its soul. I think that the Frick's character is not as a place of entertainment. It's not a place of events, of catering, so on. Its soul is the building we know, the size, the scale, and the character. And so I wouldn't like to say that we've got it right or everybody's got it right now. And perhaps there's a way to have an approval that will lapse for reconsideration later on, or perhaps putting it off for a month or two to hear other people. But I think that we may be there. This may be able to be run in a way that does not affect the soul of the Frick, and it will not harm the community. But another thing we can, I think, should bear in mind, the community itself could not have a facility like this. They could not have bars, restaurants, catering halls in a residential neighborhood, and it quite rightly. So we're looking at putting something in there that if it weren't the Frick, couldn't have it. So I think because it's so important, perhaps delay or a termination for reconsideration in the future is in line. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Judy?
Did Russell put a motion on the floor to approve?
He did. I was going to suggest a friendly amendment if you were thinking of calling the question, though.
I was thinking of seconding it and then calling the question, so go right ahead.
So I guess first is, Mr. Bing, do you want to respond to some of the comments, and then I can propose my friendly amendment to Russell's resolution, because you'd have to agree to it?
Sure. I mean, just generally regard to Marco's point is that the liquor license process in New York takes 9 months. at best.
If you're lucky.
Yeah, so the reason, so we cannot wait for the documentation that you've mentioned in order to before we come here to ask for your support. Obviously, we can only do in the building what the various documents you referred to allow. So we are here, again, this is what, again, a lot of things, the number of bars, what floors are licensed, why we're here now, it is dictated by the state liquor authority process, which we have to live with, and with the community board as an important advisory part of which. I do want to mention that back when Russell was speaking, he did mention about lights. The only reason why we can't say the lights will be off at 9 o'clock every time is because the building there's housekeeping staff, there's operational staff, there's security staff that are going throughout the building or after hours, so there may be a light temporarily on. We do have provision in the stipulation with regard to motion detectors and sensors to so the lights don't stay on after someone comes in. So this was discussed significantly with the neighbors on East 70th Street, and it's something that the institution is very aware of.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to call on me here before I go to the Valerie. So, Russell, my proposal would be a friendly amendment to your motion to approve with the stipulations that were agreed with 70th Street. My stipulation, and if Mr. Bing agrees, would be that in addition to that, the stipulation be that between now and the full board meeting, that the Frick spend these 2+ weeks and in earnest and good faith, sit down and meet with 71st Street and try to, agree any additional stipulations that are necessary, but to have a conversation and see if they can reach agreement to address any of the outstanding concerns of 71st Street between now and the full board, because the full board meeting is on the 24th, which is a little over 2 weeks. So that way there's a bit of a compromise where we can continue to move forward, and the parties on 71st and the Frick will discuss and sit down and put pedal to the metal the same way they did with 70th Street, have these conversations in earnest, and see if they can arrive to any supplemental or amendments or whatever it need be to the stipulations between now and the full board. That way there is room and opportunity for both parties to be heard, even if it isn't an abbreviated period, but I think 2 weeks is still a good amount of time, and it'll give some incentive for the parties to meet. So that would be my friendly amendment. Mr. Bing, I would first ask you if that's something you would consider, and then secondly, then I'll ask Russell if that's an amendment he would entertain.
Yes, if that would be something that the board would pass the stipulation along those lines. Obviously, I'm not going to agree and then have the board vote it down, but obviously if the committee agrees with that, it's something that we would support. Again, we within 24 hours after being aware of the 71st Street letter, I reached out to their counsel. We scheduled a meeting as soon as we could. Again, we haven't been able to respond in full to their letter because it just was received last night. But no, we would with the again, I think it was one clarification that by East 71st Street you mean the Ms. Harris and because we can't necessarily promise to meet with every single member of East 71st Street. So by saying you meet with East 71st Street, you do mean Ms. Harris and the people she represents, or what is
Yes.
what East 71st Street means?
That is what I mean. And then I will also then invite and put a little bit of the onus on Ms. Harris to say, if they want to do any further outreach to encompass any other participants or residents on 71st, please do so, because they'll be the proxy for 71st.
And obviously, we will make every effort to come to an agreement as we did with East 70th Street. We can't, again, we cannot promise that every issue will be resolved with that they may raise. But obviously, as we did with East 70th Street, and spent,
Great.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay with me.
Abraham, then the resolution should also include any agreement made with East 71st Street.
Yes, yes, they'll sit down and meet with, and then it'll incorporate any agreements or modifications to the stipulations as agreed with 71st. Yes. Russell, that's agreeable.
No, I'm okay with including the part about them meeting, but I don't think we should include stipulations that we haven't seen. I mean, look, if they come up with stipulations, I think the likelihood is that we would approve them, because if they're okay with the community, then they're probably okay with us. But we still want to sort of commit ourselves to saying whatever they come up with, we're going to approve.
Sure.
I just don't think we can.
So I guess maybe we
So
should
I
say,
would just keep it to the original proposal, and then once we hear what the stipulations are that they come back with, if they do, we can just incorporate that at the full board.
Okay.
But I'm happy with the amendment to say that we encourage them to meet over the course of the next 2 weeks. I think that makes perfect sense to me.
Okay. And so then I guess we clarify to them, though, that any proposed new stipulations they should give to us in advance of the full board meeting the day before, so we have a chance to look at and incorporate if we want to and make amendments at the full board.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that would be the amended motion on the floor. So going back to the committee, I have Valerie.
Thanks. I was actually going to suggest that 2 weeks would probably be a good time for them to get together and do this. So I'm seconding Abraham's motion, even though that's not the motion for the friendly amendment. I just want to say that I think it's really important that we get whatever if there are any additional stipulations, that we get them the day before. I think Liz will, acknowledge that we've been reaching out to understand where you guys were in your process. And we're kind of hoping that we would have seen the letter a little bit before the meeting started to just have an ability to digest it. And we appreciate that you guys have been working really hard. And we think that is what we want to encourage in terms of coming before the board. So I won't talk anymore because we've got a lot of other things on the agenda, but we do appreciate everything that everyone's done and look forward to even a happier resolution before our next full board meeting. So thank you very much.
Madam Chairwoman, my hair is this gray due to the efforts that we made to try to get this resolution done in advance of the meeting. We will make every effort to give you as much time as possible to review before the full board meeting.
Well, I'm not going to comment on whether I see a difference between how you looked the first meeting or now, but we appreciate all your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Valerie. Okay, Marco.
Thank you. I think very respectful for the emotions. I think if we approve something like that, we put the other neighbors in disadvantage. They have more advantage to the applicant rather than the neighborhood. And I think I'm very concerned with that. One. And two, I'm going to mention something about the issue that I said already. In the Department of Buildings, there is no actions from 2 years and 9 months from the applicant to move forward to obtain the CO, the TCO. So to have 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, I know that probably you may have lucky to have in 9 months your liquor license, probably even longer. I know that part. But the issue right here is you have time. You didn't finish your job. The process of the inspections, the inspections for the TCO, the inspection for the final CO, the inspection for the certificate of operations, it will take very long time. So if we only postpone 1 month, 2 months to give a more chance to those residents, I will appreciate that. And that will be my position. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. If anyone would like to call.
I'm sorry, can we address that last issue that Marco raised?
If you'd like to speak to it, yes, while I wait for
I think actually
committee hands.
can unmute Joe Shadoff if he's not already unmuted.
Okay,
He's our
I see
chief
Joe's hand.
operating officer, so he's the person best placed to
Okay,
answer.
I'm
that.
unmuted. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I don't want to take up too much time, but you know, we have been working very hard on the project, obviously, and we're going to be calling for those inspections in the coming months. We simply can't call for the TCO and the various inspections, whether they're fire department inspections or DOB inspections, plumbing inspections, until we're ready to do that, until that work is completed. So we have to line that work up, which is what we're in the process of doing. And then our expediter and contractor will call for those inspections. So we are working very actively on that. We're very well organized. We have many professionals working on our behalf, and certainly everything will be done by the book in the proper time.
Thank you very much. Okay, Lindsay?
I'd like to call the question.
Great. Okay, is anyone, I see a second. Is anyone opposed to calling the question? Judy? No? Okay, good. Okay, just so I have the full count, I see there are 15 of us. I have Valerie, Russell, Robin, Marco, Lindsay, Judy, Jane, Evan, Elizabeth, Brian, Bill, Barbara, Alita, Casey, and myself. Is that right? Well, Robert?
Yeah, and Elizabeth Ashby, just for the record.
If I have a count of 15 as well, Abraham, it might be in a different order than yours, but
Yep. Okay, great. So if this is a motion to approve with the stipulations that were agreed with 70th Street and with the stipulation that the Frick sit down with representatives from 71st Street to decide whether they want to add or modify any other stipulations, which will they present, they would still provide to us in advance of the full board. If anyone's voting no, not voting for cause, or abstaining, please give me an indicator. Okay, Marco.
Thank you. I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Okay. Alita.
I'm abstaining too, reserving to see what happens for the full board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Jane.
I'm going to abstain as well.
Okay, Elizabeth.
I'm abstaining too.
Okay, so that's 4 abstentions. Any other hands? Okay, then in that case, that will be an 11 yes, 0 no, 4 abstentions. So that is an approval recommendation to the full board, which may be changed at the full board and will likely be revisited. But for this evening, that is approved. Thank you very much. And we look forward to an equally favorable result in your conversations with 71st Street as you had with 70th Street. And thank you everyone for your time and patience for attending on this item.
Thank you for your time and for your service.
Thank the committee.
Happy New Year.
Great. Okay. Next, I have item 1B, which is Akimori. This is a new application for a wine, beer, and cider license. Do I have a representative for Akimori 1B?
Hey, yes. Does everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Teddy Kafif. I'm one of the owners of Akimori at 858 Lexington Avenue, and we're applying for a wine, beer, and cider license.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah. Do you want me to explain a little bit about the restaurant and the company?
Yeah, just a little briefly, that'd be great. Thank you so much for the context.
So we're a kosher restaurant, which means we operate from Sunday through Thursday. We're closed on Fridays and Friday evenings. We're closed on Saturdays. Really, the hours depend on the season. So in the summer, we're going to be opening around like 9:30 till 12, probably like around for 3 hours. And in the winter, we're going to be operating on Saturday nights from around 6:30 to 10. And we're an omakase restaurant, which means it's a 12-seat counter, which strictly serves sushi, raw fish, really, really high quality fish. And just to add on that, we want to be able to serve some sake wines and some beers. We've been around for 4 years. This is our 4th operation. We have our operations in Brooklyn, in the Jersey Shore, and we have another operation in Midtown Manhattan. So this would be the 4th one. And it's a growing brand, and we have a really, really cool customer base, and yeah, people really, really enjoy sushi. So they're really looking forward. We actually opened and launched our Lexington location yesterday. So today would actually be the 2nd day in operations.
Great, congrats.
Thank you.
Is there any outdoor space?
There's a backyard area that's around 14 feet wide by 20 feet long. We can fit around 6 tables over there, but we don't plan to do so in the winter. And it's just for like like a refreshing outdoor vibe area where we're gonna add some tables and chairs where people can just order some sushi over there and be under the New York City stars.
Okay, understood. But you close by 10, so that shouldn't be a concern then.
Yeah, we the kitchen closes at 9:45, and we try to do last call by 10.
Okay, great. Thank you very and is the location ADA compliant?
So we have a letter of no objection.
Okay.
So we only have 12 seats. So in order from what my attorney said, in order to be ADA compliant, I think it needs to be over around like 20 seats. We only have around 12 chairs over there at the bar. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
You have the letter of no objection, so that's great.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. First, I'll go to members of the public. Do I have any members of the public on this application? Okay, seeing none, I will go to Marco.
Thank you. First of all, let me clarify. Your attorney is wrong. You have to be in compliance with the ADA compliance. That's it. So it's not the number of people that's gonna be in your facility. I know also that it's extremely small, your place. I do not have a problem with the request. I think it's perfectly reasonable. The only concern that I have is, do you have a legal use of the rear yard? Because the letter of no objection has to address that issue. If the letter of no objection does not address this issue, so you are not legally can occupy this part of the building.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So sure. Thank you, and I appreciate that concern. So yeah, definitely not familiar with the laws. I definitely hire professionals to take care of that for me. We did hire an architect and expediters for that letter of no objection, and we did have to file floor plans of the entire space, which included the main floor, the backyard, and the basement. So the DOB reviewed that. They didn't have any comments or ask us for any revisions, and they were able to give us a letter of no objection right away. But I will definitely reach out to my architects to make sure that we're going to be in compliance for the outdoor space as well.
Great, thank you. Bill?
For the motion to approve the application.
Okay, thank you. Back to Marco.
Thank you again. The only thing is, look, I do not have a problem to support your application except for the rear yard. Thank you.
Okay, Judy?
Second the motion, call the question.
Okay, great. So we had a second before, so I'll take your call to question. Okay, so this is a motion to approve. Does anyone oppose calling the question? Okay, seeing none. If anyone's voting no, not voting for cause, or abstaining, let me know.
And I think we may have had a couple of people leave too, Abraham.
Yes, I have Elizabeth and Jane left, so that puts us at 13 by my count.
Okay.
Okay. Marco.
To abstain. Thank you.
Okay. That'll approve 12 yes, 1 abstention. So thank you very much and good luck in this new venture.
Yes, thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Do I have the representative for 1C, American Bar, 1022 Lexington Avenue. This is a license for liquor, wine, beer, and cider.
Yeah, I think we do.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Koji. I'm one of the owners of American Bar in the West Village. We operate several restaurants in the city, mainly in the West Village. We have St. Theo's and Holiday Bar. Both of the 3 restaurants very successful in the West Village. American Bar is a throwback 80s inspired clubhouse, brass rail, American bistro. We have a great reputation in the neighborhood. I myself operated actually. We've been actually looking for a space in the Upper East Side for over a year now. I myself operated and owned and operated restaurants in the Upper East Side, Bistro 61 and Marché du Sud. I'm sure some of you know about those restaurants. And yeah, we're applying for liquor, beer, and yeah.
Great. Any outdoor space?
Yes, there is a sidewalk cafe that we're intending to operate in season.
Okay. And that's sidewalk, not roadway, correct?
No, sidewalk only.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, and the location is ADA compliant?
Yes, it is.
Great. Okay, any members of the public on this application? Did you have something else, Ted?
No. Sorry.
Okay. All right, then in that case, I will go to Marco and then to Bill.
Motion to approve as presented.
Great. I'm happy to second that. Bill?
I'd like to call the question.
Okay, great. Question has been called. Does anyone oppose calling the question? Okay, seeing none, this is a motion to approve as presented. If anyone's voting no, not voting for cause or abstaining, please give me an indicator. Seeing none, that will go as a 13-0 approval. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Have a good one.
Okay, next, do I have a representative for item 1D? This is Bayonne, 408 East 64th Street, wine, beer, and cider application.
You have to unmute. You should be seeing a prompt to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I'm the owner for Bayonne Restaurant.
Hi.
408 East 64th Street, First and York Avenue.
Great, welcome. Okay, so do you want to tell us a little about the establishment? I see your hours are 12 to 10 Monday to Saturday and 4 to 10 on Sunday.
Yes.
Okay, and will you be having any outdoor space?
Yeah, we had a seasonal backyard.
Okay. Thank you. And the establishment, the location is ADA compliant?
We had our lawyer here, but looks like we lost him.
Okay. How big is the space? Is it accessible for and compliant with the American with Disabilities Act? Is it wheelchair accessible?
No. 城市
Okay.
There's no wheelchair.
Oh, I see a hand from.
Yes. Go ahead and unmute.
Ken?
Yes,
Yes.
hi. Hey, good evening. I'm sorry,
Hi.
I just lost power in my house. I just had to reset everything. Sorry about that.
Okay,
You hear me
welcome.
now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay,
Good
sorry
timing.
about that, members of the committee. All right. Let me introduce myself. May I do that, or do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Please go
My
ahead.
name-
Introduce
Yeah,
yourself.
sorry about the cutoff. My name is Kenneth Chin. I'm an attorney with Chin and Chi Law Group, PLLC, and I represent Be-In Cambodian Restaurant Inc. On behalf of my clients, I'm applying for on their behalf for a beer, wine, and cider license. This is a Cambodian cuisine type restaurant. We have within the restaurant will be 14 tables inside with approximate seating for 52 patrons. And outside, they're planning to have 5 tables with seating up to 18 patrons. They're expecting to employ maybe 6 to 8 employees, and their hours of operation are Monday through Saturday from noon up to 10 p.m. and on Sunday from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Great.
Now, the principal is the same principal who had previously operated at this location under the name Angkor Cambodian Bistro. He operated, let's see, from October 2015 until August 2020. He had closed due to the pandemic restrictions on this. And the landlord had reached out to my client after he gave up the business because they had a good relationship, and now he's trying to come back and restart at the same location.
Okay, understood. Thank you. The one question I did pose before you joined us was whether the space is ADA compliant.
I do not believe it is ADA compliant. There's a staircase in front, so I don't think it is ADA compliant. It's a staircase going up to the steps and into the restaurant. So I do not believe it is ADA compliant.
Do you have a letter of no objection, or is there?
I submitted with the package a copy of the certificate of occupancy. It is the ground floor is legal for use as a restaurant. That was submitted with the.
Okay, thank you very much. So first I'll go to Judy. Oh, actually, first, if is there anyone from the public on this matter? Okay, I don't see any hands, so I will go to Judy first.
Yeah, there's a large flight of stairs there to get into the restaurant. I don't know how they did it before, since it is definitely not ADA compliant. I don't know if the restrooms are ADA compliant. Also, I want to know, is the backyard part of this application that we're hearing tonight?
Yes, they are applying. It will was their plan intent is to put tables, and they would be serving beer and wine in the back. This application does include that.
And they would close at 10 at night?
Yes, every night, 10 o'clock.
Is the backyard still covered? At one point, there was a covering over the rear
I do
yard.
not believe from the photos that the client sent me, it's not covered.
It's not covered. Okay,
Not
the
currently
restaurant
covered.
next door is covered, but that one is not.
No.
Okay. I wonder if maybe they closing at 9 o'clock, since it's uncovered, might be better for the neighbors. That's right up. You've got apartments all around it on both sides. I don't know how the community feels about that.
Typically, the standard we've done for out rear yards is 10.
Okay.
But if you know, if the applicant is open to a different time, then that's also agreeable.
I would need to speak to my clients, and then I can and then we can get back to the community board about then the 9 p.m. suggestion versus 10.
And when would they open?
They're not open yet. They're right now they are finalizing the interior renovations. They expect probably to be open, I would say, in a few weeks. Mandy, I think she's on the line.
Yes, we try to open February 1st.
Okay. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee members? Comments, motions, questions? Barbara?
I have mixed feelings. I love to support restaurants, but the idea that it's not ADA accessible, I guess that it's legally so. If they've gotten the C of O, that means it's been
Right.
accepted. And I know that when you have a backyard, it's like a canyon or whatever, where the noises just bounce off the different streets. I can't picture it. I don't, maybe Judy can, but if there are buildings all around, 10 is also loud. I really do want to support it, but I guess the ADA, that if it's accessible, just means somebody can't go to it if they're not able, right? Then I should get over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay.
Marco?
Thank you. Well, I'm willing to help in the ADA. I hear that they are doing some alterations inside of the place. So did you file with the Department of Buildings? If you file in the Department of Buildings, that is the right time to catch the Department of Buildings, the no compliance. If they approve in the condition that as is, that would be fine for me, because that will be the problem is with DOB that do not enforce the regulations. So my advice is, my question is, did you file this this modification that you're doing inside of the venue in the Department of Buildings? The attorney can answer.
Yes, Mr. Chen?
Yes, I believe the clients had filed. I would need to speak to their architect to see any specific question about the ADA. That I am not sure of.
Okay, well, if it was filed, I do not have a problem to support this application, because DOB is supposed to catch this problem. If they allow legally, I cannot go against what the decision of the Department of Buildings. So if you put as an stipulation saying that you did file in the Department of Buildings, I do not have a problem to support this application.
Thank you, sir.
And you're just to confirm, you're agreeable to stipulate that you
let me speak. I would prefer to speak to the clients, and then I could respond to the community board. I prefer to do that.
Okay. Well, I guess the only concern then is if we don't have that ability to agree to that stipulation, we can't take an action.
Understood.
So would you like to hold this over for until the next meeting when you have that opportunity to get those answers, or do you want to maybe step away and call them?
Yeah, let me step away. I'll get back to you. Okay, I'll call them right now. Can you give me a couple minutes? Yeah, I'll get back.
Okay. Judy, did you have a question, comment?
Yes, I wanted to ask Marco. This place there are two restaurants side by side. One of them already we approved and has been existing. They've had this set of stairs there. We've been eating in whatever restaurant's been there for over 40 years. If it existed with a restaurant and they had stairs, does it mean, Marco, that they can continue to run without being ADA compliant?
Yes, as long as do not touch anything inside, because at the time when they start doing some alteration or modification inside of the venue, DOV immediately check all the regulations. They kick in right away. But if the restaurant doesn't do any alteration,
well,
so
maybe we
they
need
can
to. Maybe we need to ask them
can,
that question. Then if they're not making any major changes other than cosmetic, then maybe the ADA doesn't apply.
Judy, that is actually what Marco asked. That's why he asked whether they filed with the DOB, because he believes they are making alterations. So that's actually what we're trying to get confirmation of.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't follow that. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Russell?
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar question. I guess if the attorney is still on, I mean, I'm just very troubled by the fact that this isn't accessible. And, I feel like we're all sort of assuming what the reason for that is. And we're sort of assuming that it's grandfathered, or we're assuming a lot of different things. And we haven't just heard definitively from the applicant what the deal is and what's going on. I just, in general, are reluctant to approve where it's not accessible.
Yeah, agreed. And that's why, so if he can get the answer on whether or not they filed with DOB and they have the documentation that has been approved, then we can move forward. If not, then we either have to lay it over or disapprove.
Well, I'm not sure we want to necessarily sort of wait around here while that goes on.
Yeah, actually, I was going to move on to the next application and then we can circle back, I think, unless anyone objects to that. And I'm not seeing any objections. So, okay. So then just to keep this moving, let's move on to our last application here, which is item 2A, Favors Arcade.
The representative has his hand up. I'm not sure if you want to go back or if you want to move on to Favors.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes, I see Mr. Chin has his hand up again, is back. So let's see if we can conclude this application first. Kenneth?
Kenneth, you have to confirm unmuting on your device.
Hi, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I just confirmed with my client. They did not, they only did cosmetic changes. There was no alterations and no permits filed. I just confirmed with them.
Okay. Marco, are we able to verify that?
Well, if he said that didn't file, I cannot verify anything. So
Right.
the only thing we have to take what they are saying right now. And I do not have a problem now. If they say cosmetic, let's go approve.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Okay, great. So then we say, well, motion to approve based on the fact that there was no alterations made and it was all cosmetic. That's the kind of like condition of our approval, right?
That would be fine.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So then we have the motion to approve from Marco, provided that there was only cosmetic and no other alterations, therefore it would be grandfathered. And okay, Judy.
Second, call the question.
Okay, does anyone oppose calling the question? Okay, seeing none. Good, I see a second. Then we have, did we lose anybody?
I think we lost Brian Abraham. So if it was 13.
Yes, I see 12 of us now, so no Brian. Okay, if anyone's voting no, not voting for cause or abstaining, let me know. Okay, seeing none, this will go as a 12 yes approval. Thank you very much, Mr. Chin, and
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good luck. Likewise. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Now let's go to 2A, the representative for Mary Jane Favors Arcade, 799 Lexington. This is a new adult use dispensary license.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm calling Morocco. I'm from Bed Mary Jane. We're trying to open up at 799 Lexington. I'm sorry. My throat swelled up, and I had to take some medication, so I'm not at my best tonight.
That's okay. We're sorry to hear that, but thank you for being here.
And again, we're trying to open up a legal marijuana dispensary at 799 Lexington Avenue. We're waiting for the approval from the OCM on the location. We will be running a very beautiful boutique. It's going to be high end, and we're going to emphasize on health and wellness, because there's a lot of products that the THC is developing that are helping a lot of people and with several different problems, health problems. We're always going to have a security, so there will not be any minors entering the establishment. Our hours right now are looking to 12 to 8. On Monday and Tuesday, 12 to 10. And on the remaining days, except for Friday and Saturday, it'll be to 11. I don't know, any questions? Anything you'd like to know?
Okay. None for me. First, I'll go to members of the public if there's any questions or comments from members of the public on this application. Okay, I'm seeing one. Can we go to Julianne?
Julianne, confirm unmuting. Julianne, you should be seeing a prompt to confirm unmuting on your device.
You guys still hear me?
We can hear you. We're waiting for Julianne to see if she can come off mute too.
Okay, well, I also have my daughter. She's my partner. She's also on the Zoom. She's going to be helping. She's a CPA, and I'm very proud of her. And this is going to be basically, it's a family business. My company, Faber's Arcade, has been in existence for over 20 years, various businesses. And, my daughter, she's the brainchild. That's why it's called Bad Mary Jane, even though she's a really good girl.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
Okay, while we wait for Julianne to resolve the technical difficulties, let's go to Alita and then Robin.
Alita, confirm unmuting.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was trying, my hands were wet. I had a general question, Abraham. When the gentleman said that they were going to have security and no one younger than 21 would be allowed in there, and this has nothing to do with this application in particular, but my question is, and we've seen this with bars where they're not always good neighbors and they don't always comply with what they're supposed to do. What happens if they don't comply? Assuming someone gets a license and they're operating in our community district and they don't comply with what they're supposed to do, what is the state able to just go in and shut them down? Do they get fined? Is that something that we could include in a stipulation about some kind of consequence if there is no, if there's insufficient compliance with mandated rules?
Well, the OCM does set out the rules that they're supposed to adhere to. So there's the preliminary rules like distance requirements, et cetera. And then there's the regulations on signage, on, obviously, no one underage is allowed to enter. So violations of that could result in revocation of their license. So if they were found to be in violation of those, I don't know what the threshold is at yet from OCM, whether, it's a one-time fine or I don't actually know yet. I should look into that more into the enforcement mechanism at OCM. But yes, violations I would suspect would result in their revocation of the license.
Okay, thank you. But there's nothing else that we should use to supplement that they stipulate to some kind of immediate action, because we've seen with restaurants and liquor licenses, it could be a lengthy process if there's an issue and they already have a license. And although I know it's permitted by the state and alcohol is also a drug, it's still a drug, and that's why they have so many rules about it. So I'm just wondering, and again, it's not anything relating to this applicant at all. It's just a general question.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Okay, I'm seeing I see a new hand from a member of the public. Let's go to Christine M. Hi, Christine, you're on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi all. My name is Christine Morocco. I'm actually Carl's daughter, whom he briefly mentioned. So I just wanted to introduce myself and give a little bit more of a background. I'm not sure if all of you are very familiar with all of the guidelines and the laws that were set out by New York State and the Office of Cannabis Management, but
Yes.
they've taken, they've taken on a very big task and are trying to make sure that these new legal dispensaries are, have specific guidelines and do as they, as the law states, specifically with the look of any dispensary. It needs to be, you can't look inside. There can't be anything shown through the window. So I know you're all thinking of those smoke shops that are all over New York City right now, but those are all, most of them are illegal, and ours especially will not look anything like that. It will look like a beautiful wellness showroom boutique. It's going to have light neutral colors. It will have flowers. It will look very a spa wellness vibes, high-end boutique. And that's what we've set out to do. And also that's, one of the things that OCM wants. They want it to not look like, a sore eye or an illegal smoke shop. They want it to look nice. They want it to look classy. And that's exactly what we want to do.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay. Did we have any luck with Julianne?
I sent Julianne another prompt, and Julianne, if you're on the phone, it's star 6 to unmute. But
okay, not seeing any activity. So let's go to Robin and then Barbara.
Thank you, Abraham. I have two quick questions for Carlo. My first question is the location that you're moving into, that you're the applicant for. What is there now?
Okay, that right now seems to be an art gallery there. It's not really an art gallery. I think they're just using it in the time being. It's an art gallery, but they just put the pictures there. And before that, it was a pharmacy. So
okay.
I mean, it's perfect for our location. It's
okay.
Pharmacy.
Oh, thank you. And my other question is, what is the nature of your existing business right now?
Okay, well, I do ATM machines, and that I load ATM machines. I have ATM machines across New York City, and I have a lot of businesses in Coney Island. We have games, food courts. It's a seasonal business. Faber's Arcade is actually the original name. That was my arcade. If you guys are New Yorkers, went down to Coney Island over the last 40 years, you might have seen Faber's Arcade. It was a big building right across the street from the subway. And I'm also a business owner. I'm a property owner. And that's about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Robert, before we go to Barbara, let's go to Teresa, who I think is another member of the public.
Hi. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Thank you very much for giving us the presentation. And as it sounds, your operation is a licensed and sanctioned by the state of New York, and it also sounds like there's a great deal of rigor around the stipulations and the regulations of how these operations are run, which I'm glad to hear. I'm very new to this. I'm joining in tonight and asking these questions specifically because many of these smoke shops, if you will, and I think Christine just referred to them as smoke shops, are not sanctioned. And yes. I'm looking for some guidance from the council members as to how we can address some of the illegal activity that's going on in these unsanctioned enterprises, because I believe that they are damaging our neighborhood, and I'm very concerned about their impact on the Upper East Side. So if you can give me some guidance about if there are local meetings that I should be attending or any type of other civic actions that I can take on behalf of the community, I would like to be more involved.
Great. So first, yes, the Office of Cannabis Management has contact information if we are aware of any any smoke shops or any establishment that is illegally selling cannabis without a license. They can be reported with the idea that those would be investigated and shut down. And I don't know if we can put that information in the chat, but if not, you can reach out to the board office for that information as well, and reach out to us if you know of any particular issues with a specific smoke shop. Oh, yes, Robert just posted it of the incident reporting form link in the chat.
Thank you.
That's usually the best way. We're going to have a meeting plug for an upcoming community board meeting on upcoming legislation to make it easier to shut down some of the cannabis shops. So that's going to be on Tuesday, January 16th. That's going to be conducted via Zoom. So if you go to the Community Board 8 website, you'll be able to see the link for that meeting on Tuesday, the 16th, about legislation proposed by Council Member Keith Powers to make it easier to shut down some of these illegal cannabis shops.
Okay, and that's by Keith Powers, and I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so you can see the meeting on our site, or you can obviously go to the council members' website as well to see.
Okay, all right. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Okay, if we still don't have Julianne, then I'll go to Barbara.
Hi. Well, you said one of the things I was going to say, and Robin said the others. The Health Senior Social Services Committee also includes public safety. And so with the joint with the Street Life Committee, we are going to be hearing it. And Alita, but you asked a question that either you will ask, and if you're not on it, I will ask, but what to do after the fact if something is not right. Keith Powers not only has his own bill, but knows about state information and so on. So please come next Tuesday to our meeting. And I think it will add some information because we're all frustrated with the cannabis shops, including those that want to be legal. I think Robin asked a question that I wanted. One of the questions I would like to ask over, I am totally for the legal shops. For the main reason, I think the legal shops will help us get rid of the illegal shops, which are a bane to all of us. But I do want to make sure that you have never run an illegal shop before, a smoke shop or anything. That was not one of your businesses, I'm assuming?
No, definitely not.
Okay, that's my two questions. But please come next Tuesday. It's joint with Street Life, but it is the Health Seniors. You'll see it is the Health Senior Social Services meeting.
And I put the link to that meeting in the chat as well.
Right, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we have Julianne dialed in from another place, so maybe we can get her this time.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I have a new computer and it wouldn't let me unmute, so I apologize.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for all your help. I know it's been late, so I just want to add a few points to this shop. I don't necessarily know other than what we heard today about this shop, but what I want to bring to the Community Board 8's attention is that on this same block, and again, I know one of the rulings is that no shops can be 1,000 feet from another dispensary. Right now, this shop is scheduled to go on 799 Lexington Avenue. There are two other shops, 794 Lexington Avenue and 798 Lexington Avenue. Again, I don't know all the details about legal dispensaries or illegal dispensaries, but I do know that there are 3 shops. 2 of them are literally side by side. And I wanted to bring that in front of the board's attention. The second thing I would mention that just 1 block away, as people have seen in the newspaper, there was an incident in a cannabis shop on 61st Street where a 15-year-old boy was shot. We are still waiting for more details on this, but I must say that as many people who've spoken here today and in other cases, you know, these shops are bringing not necessarily pleasant things to neighborhoods in general. And as a advocate for my own neighborhood, which is Treadwell Farm Historic District, where we are on 2 blocks, we have seen these shops, like every other neighborhood in New York, they're opening up on every other block. And in this case, it looks like 3 within a block. So I turned to the board to say, what can we do about this? I know that this one is looking to be a legal shop, but as somebody mentioned, once we figure out what can be done with the illegal shops, maybe the legal ones could make a better situation for our neighborhood. But I personally, and my neighborhood, really has been struggling with these shops because we see dirt, we see just ugly things. And now, as we saw a shooting, a week and a half ago. So I thank you for any comments that anyone could bring forward on these.
Whenever everyone's ready, I'd like to just say something to those comments.
Okay. So just in terms of the illegal shops, I think we've talked about that, and we have the meetings set up because those are the ones that are the concern and causing a lot of disruption in our neighborhood. With respect to the licensed ones, yes. So there cannot be a license issued to a dispensary which is within 1,000 feet of another dispensary. They would not be. I don't believe the lottery drawing has occurred yet. So if 2 locations that are within that proximity were to be pulled, they just would not be able to have a license within that proximity by OCM rules. So it is really the illegal ones that are of a concern. And like I said, we're trying to do what we can to remedy that with the reporting of incidents and with some of the meetings and dialogue that we have with our elected officials. And we'll continue to have those dialogues. Okay, Christine, did you want to say something on behalf of your pending application?
Yes, sure. I just wanted to add, I believe currently there is no legal dispensary actually opened in the Upper East Side as of today. One is legal.
I believe they're card applicants that have recently opened.
And they just opened in the Upper East Side?
Yes.
Okay. So if you went into any of those dispensaries, you'd see they're very, very secure, and they're meant to be that way by the OCM guidelines. If not all of them, there's a security guard checking IDs. Then when you go in, you are browsing products through glass shelving. Nothing is able to be touched. Everything is completely secured, if not behind vaults in different areas. In our instance, it's going to be in the basement. It's completely separate. You need security access with the key cards, with fobs. So it's very, very secure. And then of course, you're walking in, getting ID to make sure you're over 21. And then when you're actually purchasing any of our products, you're also getting ID. So it'll be extremely different from those illegal spots. And, I haven't heard about that shooting, but that's absolutely terrible. And we would never, ever, ever want any of that to happen anywhere near us. And, we're hoping we are a card applicant. And so we do have a provisional approval. So this is really the next step for us, actually getting proximity protection and getting an approval from the board here. So if you're saying that the other 2 applicants were just entering the lottery, then yeah.
No, the other on the Upper East Side, we do have 2 recent openings that were also card provisional applicants. So yeah.
So I know I meant the 2 on the same street.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So yeah, that would if for some reason, those correct. Those would be lottery ones. If there was something else, or by the same token, no card applicant could seek a location within, if you were granted yours. Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm seeing another member of the public, Jennifer McBride, and then I'll go to Lindsay Cormack.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And I just wanted to ask, I'm at the location of this shop and noticed that there were a number of preschools, elementary schools, and a K through 12 school all within a block and a half, 2 blocks. It's also a high traffic area for pedestrian traffic going to Bloomingdale's. I was just wondering what kind of considerations the community board takes when approving these shops, and is that part of the consideration set? And that's pretty much it. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there are the lawful regulations set out by OCM that a cannabis shop cannot be within 500 feet of a school and 200 feet of a house of worship. However, it's on the same street, so if there were there is a church around the corner, the 200 feet would not count there because it has to be on the same road as the proposed location of the dispensary. So those are the lawful parameters that any applicant has to adhere to, not being within those distance. We as a community board then can look at the context and appropriateness of the establishment with respect to the proximity to any particular venue, and we have individually voted against locations if we thought that they were not appropriate to what its surroundings. And then lastly, with respect to the school as well, the school has to be exclusively used as a school. So sometimes the pre-K or other educational facilities might be shared space with another type of establishment, and therefore would not be counted by the OCM regulations as within the 500 feet. So I hope that gives you a little bit of context. So in short, yes, we have the legal adherence that we abide by, and then also we look at context and appropriateness for applicants and locations. Okay, Lindsay?
I would like to make a motion to approve this, but I also just wanted to say to Julianne that shooting of a 15-year-old, it's incredibly unfortunate, but he was in the process of robbing the store. And so it is theoretically, when these new stores have their security guards, that's not as possible.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. I don't know, did we have a second on that motion to approve? Yes, I'm seeing
Raising
one
her
from Bill.
hand.
Yep, I see Bill. Julianne, did you have one more comment before I close the public period? Since we're getting into our
Yeah, I don't want to take up too much time, but just so I understood what you said, one was if it's on the same block, so you're saying that any cannabis shop on Lexington Avenue, if schools are on 62nd Street, even if they're within 200 feet, then that means house of worship at 200 feet or school. Yes.
Yeah. By the letter of the law, then those do not count, and those are and the location is in compliance of the distance requirements if it is on the side street and the location is on the avenue. Correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion to approve. We have a second, Marco.
It was second already by Barbara. I'm going to call the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone oppose calling the question? Okay, in that case, let's go to the roll. 1, 2.
By my account, Abraham.
11?
Yep, 11.
Because Russell left us, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a motion to approve. If anyone's voting no, not voting for cause, please give me an indicator. Marco?
No.
Okay, Valerie?
No.
Okay, Robin?
Abraham, no.
Thank you, Robin. Alita?
No.
Okay. Okay, so that's 4 no's, 7 yeses. So that'll pass. But that'll go to the full board, and because it's non-unanimous, it can be revisited and discussed at the full board. So I would recommend the applicant to attend the full board meeting. But for right now, it'll go as a recommendation for approval from this board, from this committee.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, I would just like to note that the only way to knock all those illegal places, and my count, there's over 80 in this community board, is with the legal establishments. And I would love to know why they disapprove this particular location, because they've already approved the location across the street. And at the end of the day, it's not going to matter if I want the location or the other person wants the location. It's going to come down to the OCM and who they decide that they want to give the license to that particular area. So is it possible? Could you just let me know why you're saying no?
Well, we didn't say no. This committee is recommending yes.
Yeah, but I was wondering about the participants that ruled no. I was very curious of why.
I mean, I don't know that we've done that. If individuals want to explain why, there's no obligation to. I'd also say careful what you wish for. Okay, I see some hands up. Judy?
Yeah, now that we've finished with the application, I just wanted to go over with you so I understand better. From reading what I'm reading on my computer, there are 2 now approved legal cannabis places in Community Board 8. THC, and I forget the name of the one on very East 73rd Street. So I'm a little mixed up, Abraham. Exactly when does the state take the names out of the basket? How do they decide, or when do they decide? There's supposed to be 1,000 for all of New York State. How come these 2 got picked now? How did they do that? How does that part of it work? Nobody's really explained that to us.
Abraham, do you want me to chime in with information, or do you want to?
Yeah, I was going to, but I'm happy to let a new voice come in. So go for it, Robert.
So Judy, it's part of and Abraham, I preface this to all of the lawyers here. I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV. So, but the law was passed to be justice-involved applicants first, and the 2 applications that we had approved, that opened up the Arbor I know, and the one on 73rd Street are justice-involved applicants, so they are given priority from New York State, and they are given before the lottery system any card applicant. And from there, once they open up the card applications, from there they were put however many applications from New York State into the lottery.
So if I understand you right, Robert, what you're saying is that the actual lottery system hasn't started yet. These are special people.
Yep, to the best of my knowledge.
And do we know when the actual lottery system will start?
The last that I had heard from an OCM Intergov call was they were hoping to do it January or February, but no definite time.
Okay, so these people are from the other group of people that they've been giving preference to, I guess, to see how it works. But then the rest of the people will be picked from the lottery.
Yes, and that number that you referenced, Judy, is 500 to 1,000 across New York State.
Right. So we may not get a lot more or any more in New York City.
Yep. Abraham, I hope I didn't misspeak. I don't know if you have anything more to add.
That's why those open, because those were card applicants, and those are the justice impacted ones that they were. Once we approved them, they had been provisionally approved and they had their space, and then now that's how they're opening.
So do we have any more card applicants, or this is the end?
Well, I believe the current applicant indicated they were a card applicant. Is that correct?
Yes. The card holders.
Yeah.
But I think she's asking if there's any more people. I noticed there's another one set for next month who's looking for a license in the community.
Okay, but I'm talking about card applicants. So, and if you should get yours If they should approve that now as a court applicant, that means everybody else who was applying on that block around you, they will automatically be disregarded. They won't be part of the lottery because they'll be within 1,000 feet of you.
Well,
Right.
yeah, they'll
Whoever
be a
gets
part of the
it
lot.
first.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
No problem, Judy. Okay, so going to Alita. I don't know if Alita, you wanted to respond to the applicant as to why the vote.
I'm willing to do that.
Thank you.
I believe that community boards are charged with representing the community. And even when the city, or in this instance, the state, gives permission for something, that we know the community better. And I don't believe that we have to agree with what the state says, because they can always override us. So for me, the proximity to schools and other institutions is troubling. I think the state's idea that it has to be full-time as a school is ridiculous and has no relevance to the idea of a shop selling cannabis products. So those are my concerns. I don't agree with what the state says, and I think its proximity is not good. My other question, which again is not related to you in particular, but you said it and other applicants have said it, which is that the only way to shut down the illegal cannabis stores are to have legal ones. I don't really understand that argument, because you and another applicant who says that they will be very high end and very luxurious and very beautiful is a different demographic than the people I see going into these illegal stores. And frankly, today I walked by one, and the odor of marijuana coming out of there was like pizza when you walk by a pizza parlor. It filled the sidewalk, and to me, that is a different demographic. And I don't know whether that's something that will or will not come from legal stores, because we've all heard about, as I mentioned earlier, liquor stores. And so I just don't understand the concept, except that I guess owners of legal stores can sue illegal stores. But how long a process is that? Because there are always, I think, appeals from loss of license, from shutting down spaces, for instance, or other kinds of appeals. So I don't really know how that works. And especially because it is a demographic, the people that I see coming out of cannabis stores are not likely to be the same people shopping at Saks and Bergdorf and Bloomingdale's, which I guess is the kind of customer that you're looking to attract. So, and that's not a reason to disapprove. It was actually a question that I had in general, but just because I was called on now, I decided to ask it. So I hope you understand my explanation. I understand what you're trying to do, and it is a part of New York City life in Manhattan that there are churches and synagogues and mosques and private schools and public schools and preschools that are all really close to each other and close to everything else. But kids ask questions. When windows are blacked out, it may inspire even more questions. So it's just a concern of mine. But thank you for asking.
I appreciate your answer. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thanks. Okay, last three hands. Barbara?
I have a couple of things. First of all, I just, before Alita spoke, to say that generally, when you said that we approved others, there's a difference between individual votes and the majority vote, which is what we had right now. So this will come out that this committee voted for you. There are some people that just, if you look, vote no most of the time for it, and that's their business and their right to do so. But I just wanted to explain that it isn't like we voted yes for one and not for the other. Generally, we as a committee, it's a majority vote. I don't understand, though, the card. I thought the card, which, by the way, for Judy's sake, stands for conditional adult use recreation, I think, or as recreation dispensaries. And it was for those people that were, I think that the lawsuit said it had to be in the service, or those that were harmed by the laws that had some penalties. I thought that we were done with card. And if you are card, can you explain why? Like, where do you fit in with the card? Why would you be under the card system?
Well, the way it started, they tried to help small businesses and people that they felt were impacted by the laws, where they feel that anyone that was in trouble from marijuana shouldn't have been.
That's right. They were imprisoned or so on.
Yeah,
Right.
that's how it first started out, and that's how I received a card, because I had caught smoking marijuana when I was younger and in impoverished areas that I lived in, and also that I'm a businessman, because that was one of the criterias.
Yes, it was that you had
They
a
wanted to have people that showed that they could run businesses properly, and small businesses. And we're a small business. I've always been basically a small business. And that's how we achieved the card. And then a lawsuit came along and stopped the program. And then they settled the lawsuit and gave us back the card. But the OCM is not very organized. I hate to say it. And I mean, maybe they don't know what they're doing either.
Yeah, I just thought that the card system was over. I was supposed to try to hear. And that's the other issue. The issue, Alita, isn't that that these shops will put the other ones out of business. It's that it's been overwhelming and not well run on the city and state level in terms of who could actually shut down. I'm very eager to hear what Keith Powers has to say, because he was talking about streamlining it so more people, in fact, can shut down the illegal ones. What is said over and over, include with District Attorney Brad today, and I think even the governor's speech today, is that they will go after, when a legal shop comes in, there's more chance that they will go after the illegal shop and shut them down. The Health Seniors actually in beginning days had a resolution that we should be shutting down the landlords, suing the landlords who actually give licenses to those shops. So it's been a mess, and they haven't done it. And as far as I'm concerned, this is one hope I have to shut it down. But it isn't that these boutique shops, that, as you put it, Saks would shut down H&M. That isn't the case. It's the case that more likely that the government will shut down, that OCM or the police or whoever has the right to do it will shut down the illegal shops. And that's my hope, and why I feel so strongly about it, and wish you very good luck.
Police, so basically what the OCM is saying is that once they open up more shops, then they'll go illegal shops, then they can go after the illegals. Without the legal shops, so then they're going to put a preference on going after the landlord.
That's right.
And to make them close. So
that's right.
That's why I say, once those legal places opened up, then they'll go after the illegals.
The laws at the beginning was so confusing that they couldn't even do it. The sheriff had one thing to do, the police had another thing to do, as OCM had another. And I will tell you, my Health Seniors Committee and with Street Life, we did pass resolutions to say we need to streamline this. And so we're working on it. It's not a perfect situation, and we're all frustrated with it. But it's not a matter that the high class places will put the low class places, the illegal ones out. It's
okay. I want to keep this moving, because we're not going to resolve the issue of that. We can talk about it at the Health Seniors at the HSS meeting about what to do about the illegal shops, because I know we're done with business and I don't want to keep people here longer than we need. So Marco and then Lindsay, hopefully there's a motion to adjourn somewhere.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to try to be quick. This kind of business, they attract criminal actions. The problem of the last month on 63rd Street, I think was on First Avenue, the criminals, they know that this business has cash. So as long as they know that they have cash, they will come and they will go. They're not going to say, oh, this is illegal and this is illegal. We're not going to attack just only one. And probably they're going to look for which one has more money than anybody else. So now, the other issue is that they claim that marijuana has a medical purpose. Two doctors in one of this meeting, they came and they said nothing has been proved with the medical issue. Then they come in the issue of this is a recreational. However, a therapist came right here to help those people that have an addiction to marijuana. So the issue is very simple. regardless if you want to do with your life, it's perfectly fine. You can smoke, you can do whatever you want. But those that we don't do that, we have also the right to have fresh air. And the fresh air, we don't have it because the issue is we have a second-hand smoke. I think it's completely unfair. And that is why I always recommend to disapprove this kind of application. Thank you. I hope that I can answer what I said. No, thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you. I just want to say something super quick to that. It's not necessarily that our business, because it's legal, it is less attractive to thieves or criminals. It's just that OCM has very strict standards in place, and they look at inspection after inspection, whereas there's going to be as I had mentioned before, just very secure areas. There's going to be, they call them man traps, double doors, all key access, only certain individuals are allowed access into certain areas. So it's not impossible, but it will be more difficult for those places to be robbed.
Thank you. Lindsay?
I just wanted to say that I think seeing that we have no old business and no new business, I think a motion to adjourn, it looks like Valerie wants to say, but I also want to say that I think in the future, we need to have a practice of not having every Street Life meeting be let's go over the cannabis laws back and forth, because it extends these meetings. And maybe we have Robert put the laws up in the chat at the top and say, here's what it is if you need to reference it. So we're not doing this every time. And I guess Valerie, and then we'll see if we're going to adjourn after.
Okay, thanks, Valerie.
Lindsay, I think that's a great idea, because I think we get a lot of people from the public who come on who aren't familiar with the regulations. So you're right, we do that. I actually wanted to bring up another point just and it has nothing to do with cannabis. It actually has to do with outdoor cafes. I'm seeing now, and this is a question maybe for later, that a lot of the sidewalk open air cafes are suddenly being enclosed by temporary, what you used to be allowed to do in order to get into your store. You used to be allowed to put up some kind of plastic or vinyl with a
enclosure.
That's being expanded to the entire sidewalk cafe. And I guess my question for Street Life is that really permissible? Do you have to have an extra permit to do that? I think it's not permissible.
Not permissible. It's not permissible. I mean, and even with the new kind of regulations there, that's not permissible. They're not supposed to be enclosed. Only grandfathered out enclosed places are supposed to.
Not that I want to be mysterious, but there's a recent restaurant who we've had some issues with, who opened a new location, and now he's gone ahead and done this, and it goes like the entire length of the restaurant and around the corner. So I mean, I'll bring that up at a different meeting, but I just wanted to get some clarification. So if I can do that, I don't know, maybe Judy needs to do this. I'd like to make the motion to adjourn.
Happy, I and many will second, I'm sure. Okay. Well, we have a motion to urge, happy to second. So thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Go to the safety meeting and hear Keith Powers talk about cannabis.
Will do. Bye.